Hey guys, welcome back. This is sublbc here, and we are not doing another video episode of Growing for Freedom. In fact, before I move forward with doing this video that is not an episode of Growing for Freedom, I just want to give a very, very big shout out and much props to Latwill301, who is another YouTube user who took it upon himself to actually post a time-indexed chapter list into the comments section. And this, of course, is going to be really useful, especially in the future when the Q&As get a lot longer. You can basically, look through the chapter list, and if there's any questions that pertain to you, you can just click on it, and it'll take you right there without having to needlessly click through the video. And it's a really, really awesome thing. It's exactly what I was looking for, for contributions to the Q&A project. So definitely keep it up. It is a perfect example of smart people making contributions to things to improve them for everybody else. I wish that could be the gist of today's video, but it just simply isn't going to be. So what is it that I'm actually talking about in this video? Well, it revolves around the first Q&A episode, which was a very short episode versus the other Q&As that I've done before in the past, and didn't really expect much to happen in the comments section, but it seems that something kind of unexpected happened. And for all you guys that don't know, my most previous video, Q&A part 1, essentially I just used a backdrop of imagery that I've used before, with a picture of Obama with a AK-47 communist symbol on a red backdrop, a lot of red and yellow in there. And I got some really, really interesting comments. And normally I try to stay away from doing videos where I'm just kind of going after people and ownage videos or whatever, because it doesn't really accomplish much. But at some point, I reach a threshold where I pretty much just have to say, okay, that's the limit. We need to start talking about this because, there's just a huge problem with communication or lack thereof, and a deeper misunderstanding of some of the most simplistic satire imagery. So this is the first of some of the comments that I had received. And this one here, first one, comes from Diggers42420. He says, "Why the pick of Obama? He works for the Queen of England, and he is destroying this awesome country. Just the picture or the pic of Obama is enough to unsubscribe." Now, it's pretty clear that one of two things is happening. Either this person hates Obama so much that any image of Obama in any form will just drive him nuts. And I'm sure it's possible that someone would hate Obama that much, but what I think really is going on here is, Diggers42420 just simply does not understand the satire at all whatsoever. And I made kind of a snarky reply, and a lot of other people made replies to him. And after, basically being explained what the fuck was actually going on, Diggers42420 continues. He says, "Okay, whatever floats the boat. Carry on. I just don't get it. Call me behind or stupid or dumb or ignorant, whatever names there are, you can. It doesn't change anything Obama has done to this country. Fuck Obama, and to hell with sub. I'm out of this stupid shit." And honestly, guys, I mean, that's, I guess what really bothers me is that, if you really think about the lowest common denominator out there, and we're talking about politics, I can't help but bring up the example of Glenn Beck and other Fox News pundits. They're kind of the ones who started this whole, portraying Obama as a, hardcore leftist, Marxist, communist, fascist, Nazi, whatever label they want to put on him. And Glenn Beck and other Fox News pundits really are designed to cater to the lowest common denominator of anybody that could possibly have any knowledge or interest in politics. Okay? Essentially, if you're the stupidest person in the world, but you have some interest in politics, then you watch Glenn Beck, and then they'll throw Obama out there as a communist and paint him up to look like Hitler and put the little mustache on him, and people get it. They get the satire. Everybody gets the satire. But in this specific example, it completely goes over the head of the person making the comment, and that just blows me away. And whatever. Hey, my audience isn't perfect. I'm not going to go too crazy, but it doesn't stop there. It actually got a lot worse. So, moving over here to another comment to this guy, or I should say another comment made by this guy by the name of Skeksis Rule. Okay. He goes on to say, you guys saying Obama is destroying the country are fucking retarded. You've been saying that since he got in office, like you've totally forgotten how bad shit was already by 2008. The economy was in a complete free fall. In case you can't recall, all of the communist comparisons are bullshit. I bet half of you saying that nonsense can't tell me the difference between communist/socialist. I like your video, sub, but that nonsense gets old quick. And the only real comment I have to say before I get to my actual comment reply on the thread is, you know, how do you know what I've been saying about Obama since he was elected? I wasn't making videos on YouTube until around, February of 2010? So Obama had been in office 2 years before I started making videos about Obama. And I don't even make videos about Obama. In fact, I don't think I've mentioned Obama more than 2 or 3 times, really, in specific videos where politics were the subject. And in a lot of videos where I talk about that, I don't even recall bringing up Obama by name. And I certainly don't make any mention of him destroying our country. I've said a lot of other things. And you may not be replying to me on that specific comment, but, you know, I don't understand how you seem to draw all these crazy conclusions, basically speaking for whatever people may have been saying for the last 2 years. You just jump in and say some shit, and then all of a sudden for the last 2 years, or 4 years, or almost now, I guess, I've just been saying all these things. And I'm like, how would you know? For all I know, I could have been the biggest Obama supporter back in 2008. And through all of 2009, for all you fucking know. How in the fuck do you know? I mean, this is complete talking out the anus right here. You have nothing to back up what you say. And as far as the reply for the whole difference between communist and socialist thing, this is where I basically decided to reply in the comment thread. I go on to say, the difference essentially is that in communism, the needs of the collective are placed over that of the individual. Socialism deals more with economics and is based on people's needs more than their means. In both cases, the rights of the individual are compromised by the expansion and dependence on government. When the government comes in to solve all of your problems, what you end up with is something truly un-American. And I stand behind that, right? I mean, not totally out of the realm of crazy, right? But I was not prepared for the reply that I would get from Skeksis Rule. And this is his reply. Your last statement is one of true ignorance. First, though, your definitions are backwards. Socialism generally refers to an economic system, while communism refers to both an economic and a political system. Socialism can be summed up as everyone working toward the good of the collective. Communism is each according to his needs, making sure everyone gets an equal piece of the pie. The end goal of communism is to dissolve government and leave all means of production in the hands of the people. And this one just blows me away. And if you guys just didn't catch what just happened there, essentially, I made a statement, and this person decides to argue with me by taking almost my exact statement verbatim and throwing it back into my face as an argument against my statement. And you know, I'm familiar with a lot of types of arguments, you know, and things that are designed to disrupt and distract and deflect, such as, you know, the red herring, the straw man, the non sequitur, the ad hominem, circular logic, the no true Scotsman fallacy. I mean, I can go on and on and on, but I have absolutely no name for something that, you know, where you make a statement or an argument, someone takes the argument, throws it right back at you, the exact same way you made it almost, as an argument against you. I made it very clear that socialism deals more with economics. He says socialism generally refers to an economic system. So we're kind of in agreement there, but yet he is arguing against me. And I really have to correct him because he actually agrees with me verbatim. And then he's the one who goes ahead and switches things and gets them absolutely wrong. All right, so I want to go ahead and break this down just a little bit so that everyone can follow along. What he basically says here is that, communism is each according to his needs, making sure everyone gets an equal piece of the pie. Well, that's a contradiction. And it's funny because he's now talking about communism in similar ways that Marx used to talk about communism, but a lot of things about Marx have been completely refuted. I'm going to explore a little bit about that as we dive into this just a little bit. But the real problem here is that if it's each according to his needs and everyone has different needs, then how can everyone have an equal piece of the pie? You see what I'm saying? It really can't work out that way. Everybody has different needs, and it's got to be determined what those needs are. And in order to do that in communism, you need to have some kind of central planning. Now, it can be argued that both socialism and communism kind of share this whole everyone working towards the good of the collective kind of thing. But where they really get different is how the good of the collective is actually determined. And, things for Skeksis' rule here just fall apart. He says here that the end goal of communism is to dissolve government and leave all means of production in the hands of the people. Now, the problem is that if you dissolve government, if that's the goal of communism, so are you trying to tell me that the goal of communism is anarchy? Or the goal of communism is going to be some kind of newfound capitalism? Because if you leave all the means of production in the hands of the people, then you're going to get one of those two things. Without a central force of government to determine the needs of the people, then you're going to have anarchy. You know what I'm saying? I mean, these are kind of a lot of the reasons why Marxism and communist theory just kind of fall apart. This whole utopia, it's just absolute garbage, and I don't even think that that's actually the goal of communism at all whatsoever. It might be the strict definition, like the same way that feminism is supposedly for equality, when we know that's not true. But this is where your worldview falls apart. You see, when socialism and communism kind of diverged, because they did have similar roots, the whole central tenet of to each according to his needs, not by their means, was really taken on by socialism. Okay? If you talk to anyone that lives in a socialist country, especially like Canada, France, Sweden, whatnot, you'll hear, if you get into a political discussion, you'll hear this brought up very, very much. It is strictly as far as modern day socialism is concerned, they're just intertwined at this point. You do not see that so much in communism. And in communism, what you really are dealing with here is a collective above individual attitude in which everyone works for the good of the collective. Okay, that is a purely communistic type deal. And in order to rally all the troops, so to speak, to get all the people on board, requires an amazing amount of propaganda, and it generally results in some kind of cult of personality, God worship. If you take countries like the USSR, with obviously from Lenin to Stalin, those are great examples of it. With China, you had Mao Zedong. In North Korea, from Kim Il Sung to Kim Jong Il, now to his son Kim Jong Un, I guess. And anywhere you go, even in the height of communist Vietnam, Ho Chi Minh, you have Castro in Cuba. Every communist nation requires this because that's how you determine the needs of the people. You can't have the people determine their own needs, because then they'll start getting together and they'll start talking. They'll start thinking, and then they might actually want to vote on things, and then you'll have a democracy, and you can't have that. That's the absolute enemy of communism. Communism is all about placing the collective above the needs of the individual and basically having central planning to determine what those needs are. And if it doesn't quite jive with what people actually really want, then you just start layering on the propaganda. Okay? That is communism in a nutshell. There is really no to each according to his needs. If anything, that is just another propaganda element to communism. Whereas in socialism, it is a very real thing. But like you said when you were arguing with me or agreeing with me, whichever it may be, socialism has more of an economic function based on people's needs and not their means. This will generally result in a democracy in which the people will determine what the needs are, right? And then the government will go ahead and facilitate that with some kind of social welfare or entitlement or whatever. The end all be all result is that people in socialist democracies pay a lot more taxes, but get a lot of entitlements in return. Free housing, tons and tons of money, help with whatever you need. Just the government's basically involved in a lot of things in the economic scope of it. But in the realm of politics, you generally have a democratic function. Okay? There is no necessarily working towards the good of the collective. It's really more about what the needs of the people are, and they will determine it through democracy. For the good of the collective is completely subjective. Who really knows what that is? The only person who can determine that is a totalitarian dictator, hence communism. So you're completely ass backwards on those two things. And yeah, that's pretty much that. But now Skeksis Rule goes on to say, I think your real issue is that you're just pissed that Obama isn't stopping the medical marijuana raids like he said. If you're looking for it to be legalized, then don't hold your breath. I'm not saying that's what you want. I'm just saying there is too much money involved and too many corporate interests keeping it illegal. Obama has made no policies that are even remotely communist or out of line with what the previous and next president will do. Well, I'm not going to waste time replying to the last part of that comment. There's so many others that have done so much more research to refute everything that you're saying. But as far as me having a real issue that Obama is being pissed, or about me being pissed that Obama is not stopping medical marijuana raids, well, yeah. I mean, yes, no shit. Are you trying to tell me that I shouldn't be pissed? That I should just be like, oh, well, it's Obama and, he lied and was a piece of shit just like every other president was. So he's cool, right? I mean, he's just following the status quo, right? It's not like he promised change and, gave people hope in a new America, right? I mean, he's just another piece of shit, right? Like everyone else. So I should just shut the fuck up and just be happy that at least, he's just as shitty as every other president that we've ever had. So that's it, right? Is that really your argument? I mean, watching all my videos and all the things that I say, is that the kind of apathetic complacency that you just parade publicly for all people out there to see? This is pathetic, man. Skeksis Rule, you're pathetic, dude. Completely pathetic. And, we don't really need people like you, And I'm not saying you can't change, but you really need to solidify your worldview. Do a lot more research on the things that you talk about and really try to grasp an understanding of the world that you live in before you start making these open statements, because there are people like me that are going to call you out. I'm just not going to let people sit here and just talk a bunch of fucking inane bullshit unchecked. I mean, I will to a certain degree, but when it starts to get important, then, and things that I actually care passionately about, it's just not going to happen. So anyways, guys, like I said, I didn't want to turn this into a whole bullshit thing. Just people spewing a bunch of fucking crap all over the the screen here, and someone's got to step in and just kind of calm it down. So that's all that I basically had to say. Again, if you guys have any questions that you want to have answered, send them over to sublbcqanda@gmail.com, and we're gonna get back to growing videos coming up right after this. So thanks a lot for listening or watching or whatever. See you all next time.